Thank you so much, sir, for elucidating the content of education for the 21st century, which is so much in keeping with today's times and the current scenario. Moving on to the plenary session, and to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it will be presided over by Honorable Mr. Justice Hilario David Jr., former Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Philippines. May I invite on stage Honorable Mr. Justice Hilario David Jr., former Chief Justice, Supreme Court, Philippines, to chair the session. I would also like to take the privilege and honor of inviting the other panelists for this session. Honorable Ms. Justice Irene C. Mambalima, Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Zambia. You are requested to come up on stage, ma'am. Honorable Ms. Justice Irene C. Mambalima, Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Zambia. Next, I'd like to invite Her Excellency, Mrs. Sothivi Chan, Secretary of State, Ministry of Justice, Cambodia. May I request you, ma'am, to come up on stage. Next, I'd like to take the honor of inviting Honorable Mr. Justice Osmane Batoko, President, Supreme Court of Benin. Honorable Mr. Justice Osmane Batoko, President, Supreme Court of Benin. I'd also like to invite Honorable Justice Dr. Haider Ahmed Dafala, Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Sudan. Honorable Mr. Justice Daniel Mekobo Sone, Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Cameroon. I'd also like to invite Honorable Mr. Justice Javier H. Fernandez, National Judge and Executive Director, AIEJ, Argentina. I'd also like to request our respected founder manager, Dr. Jagdish Gandhi, to be up on stage for this session. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, this session is being presided over by Honorable Mr. Justice Hilario David Jr., former Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Philippines. There's an announcement for the escorts. You're requested to deposit the translating machines in the cubicles in the auditorium to my right. With immediate effect, please. The escorts are requested to deposit the translating machines in the cubicles to my right in the auditorium. Thank you very much. Mambalima, Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Zambia. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Honorable Ms. Justice Irene C. Mambalima, Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Zambia. Over to you, ma'am.
The chair for this session, Dr. Gandhi, the convener, Excellencies, Heads of State, Chief Justices, judges, the children who are with us and their teachers, may I simply say, ladies and gentlemen, it's quite daunting to speak after such a moving presentation by the convener of the conference, but I guess we bring a different perspective. I feel profoundly honored to have been invited to address this prestigious body, the World Judiciary, at the 16th International Conference of Chief Justices of the World, here in Lucknow, India. I warmly thank the convener of the conference and founder manager, City Montessori School, Dr. Jagdish Gandhi, our host, for the diligent and efficient work carried out by his staff to ensure such an excellent organization for this conference. I would further like to express my sincere gratitude for the very warm welcome and hospitality extended to me and my delegation since our arrival in India. I'm particularly grateful that this invitation has come barely 6 months after my appointment as Chief Justice of the Republic of Zambia. The invitation therefore gives me an early welcome opportunity to share this platform with eminent jurists and personalities devoted to the cause of children, the cause for enforceable world law, the cause for effective global governance, and the cause for world unity and peace. I'm excited that the theme of this conference, Uniting the World for Children Through Enforceable World Law and Effective Global Governance, is fittingly focused on our children, as they say, our future leaders. The cause of the more than 50,000 students of City Montessori School, on behalf of 2 billion children of the world, as well as generations yet to be born, and their plea for safeguarding the future of these children have been, for the last 15 years, loud, clear, consistent, and yet it is not out of place to repeat them. The plight and well-being of the children of the world has been of concern to the international community for some time now. The 1924 Geneva Declaration of the Rights of the Child starts by declaring that mankind owes to the child the best that it has to give. At the end of the Second World War, the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights in its
the issue of integration of ethnic minorities into the social fabric in the national community. The responsibility of national governments in maintaining the national balance in the distribution of roles is full of this view. Every citizen, every member of the community should feel integrated in the nation and should feel equal to other citizens of the homeland and live fully and completely. When these ingredients of living together are not met, when citizens do not feel equal before the law, frustrations are born, and the use of gratuitous violence, the bestial violence, becomes the solution to a bad experience membership to the human community. Removal, heinous, despicable, and criminal over 200 Nigerian girls for years remains an illustration of the truly criminal nature of terrorism. The destruction of human lives, public buildings, schools, hospitals, rest in negation of the values and foundation of a society, and as an illustration of the loss of bearings in a world that must be peaceful, with dialogue and tolerance. The international community must mobilize and take the necessary initiatives, the kind of encounter which brings us together in these places. It must legislate through international treaties for the protection of minorities, children, and work for the ratification of those treaties by all countries. To achieve this, a working international lobbying is necessary. Mr. Jagdish Gandhi and CMS could, I am sure, play a big role in this crusade against the seeds of terrorism. I would in any case wish, hope, give the immense experience capitalized by our host and his revered institution. Our world in quest of peace, harmony, and friendship between peoples, between nations, needs his leadership, his charisma, and his love for children. I thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. To leave, because I'm leaving with morning, I would like to remember everybody that on Friday, I have received the honor by the Lucknow City K, the mayor of the city, give me. I would like to take my warmful thank to the mayor of Lucknow City, and mainly to the organizer of our conference, the Dr. Jagdish Gandhi, all his family, and mainly the staff of our conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I'd now like to invite Honorable Justice Dr. Haider Ahmed Dafala, Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Sudan, for the address to be made by him on behalf of the Sudan President. Over to you, sir.
Reverend Sherry, Dr. Jagdish Gandhi, Forum of the International Conference of Chief Justice of the world and founder, manager, City Montessori School, Lucknow, India. Your Excellencies, Head of State and Governments, Your Excellencies, Honorable Chief Justice of the world, Your Excellencies, Ministers of Justice, distinguished delegations, ladies and gentlemen, dear student of CMS, Your Lordship, today I have the honor to address you as a representative to the President of the Republic of the Sudan, Field Marshal Umar Hassan Ahmed al-Bashir, guest of honor to this conference. Allow me to convey his sincere dedication to the organizers of the conference, Your Excellencies Chief Justice of the world, to City Montessori School, and to the historical city of Lucknow, his sincere congratulations to you, all conferences delegations. The Sudanese-Indian relations are deep-rooted. It has been an example of pride and a source of gratitude. The Sudanese visions are stems from the firm point that India is the utmost supporter all the developing countries through its historical legacy in advocating against humanity at international forums and platforms. Thank you that much for your kind invitation to attend the 6th International Conferences of Chief Justice of the World under the theme Uniting the World for Children through Enforceable World Law and Effective Global Governance. I would like to express my appreciation to the students of CMS, and I am impressed with those students and their school, whom have become a source of inspiration to us and optimism. They are supportive to global peace process. They assure to us all that future generations are capable and able to address the problems that threaten human security and peace. Your Excellencies, Head of State and Government, Sudan judicial system and the Sudan judiciary are founded since 500 years ago, and it evolved as a unique, solid judicial system, what is common law from British and Indian laws. The eyewitness for this evaluation was Maulana Muhammad Ahmed Abu Ranat, who has appointed as the first Chief Justice after Sudan's independence, and Mr. Suka Marsin from India, who was chairman of the first election committee in Sudan on 8th of April 1953. Your Excellencies, Chief Justice, and Excellencies, delegations to state and government, millions of children around the world today are living under the shadow of man-made crises such as wars, disasters, child trafficking, and illegal immigration, and others, which it exposes them to danger and violations, whereas environment pollution is not a new phenomenon or an emergency to our planet, but it is a new trend, increase of pollution intensity in our time, quantitatively and quantitatively. We meet together every year to renew and reaffirm the vision Dr. Gandhi throughout recorded history, nations and peoples. They can meet together for world peace and settle their disputes and advancing the common prosperity in the world which we are fights each other now and survival for the fitters. In such situations like that, children need special protection because these risks embedded their growth capabilities, their development, indeed increase their suffering. Mostly they become disabled or neglected or abuse victims. Your Excellencies, Honorable Chief Justice, from the above three positions, a ray of hope has emerged at the horizon, blended in the Article 51 of the Indian Constitution. There is no doubt The provisions set forth in Article 51 is a guided torch to save the world from the immediate environment, health, and nuclear disaster unless governments and judicial authorities of the world has to relate in interpretation of these laws to ensure implements of justice and proceedings into Constitution of Global Parliament have the power to enact binding international law applied to all countries, and government should provide the desired peace and security to the peoples. Your Excellencies, Chief Justice, today many events took place around us: conflict, war, and disaster, and these crises are various, such as economic, politics, health, and social, in influencing upon our social fabric effectively, which in turn impact on community members, especially children. Today, a nightmare is emerging, which endanger our own security and international security, namely terrorism, which has swept many countries of the world, and obviously at some countries of the Middle East. Many countries are suffering. It is scourged till now. Unfortunately, children are being abused badly, these stolen children. Your Excellencies, Chief Justice of the world, United Nations is one of the largest organizations in the world. It works peace and human rights. However, lacks of necessary mechanisms, it made her to fail in achieving its goals, which it was established for. Yes, it provides a considerable effort through various agencies, UNICEF, FAO, World Bank, and the International Court of Justice, a considerable effort on humanitarian matters. But there are a lot of obstacles prevent achieving these objectives. For example, despite the fact that the United Nations has an International Court of Justice, which is primarily judicial organ, the United Nations, which is entrusted to resolve today's worst crisis, but in reality, it credited only disease, rape, child education, and peace military. However, we are like any leaders' generation. We are facing new profound challenges, and this organization is still untested yet. The question is, do we have the wisdom and courage as nations and member states of the international community to address the challenge directly, or does the United Nations can meet the test of our time? It is clear to everyone that International Criminal Court, ICC, has emerged as an independent body from the United Nations. However, its decisions are not binding for some countries. Obviously, it deals with selectively and double standards. It is a colonial object directed to some countries. We support the Republic of India objection upon the Constitutional Convention of the ICC, where it presented to the United Nations its draft is the rational refusal. It has outlined on three main objections. Firstly, the definition of the term crimes against humanity. It is a vague and mysterious term. It may lead to misinterpretation and misuse. Secondly, the convention will establish a political court which gives the Security Council the right to refer cases to ICC and grant right to withdraw cases, which means politicalizations of justice. Thirdly, the Convention does not include nuclear weapons and mass destruction weapons among the crimes which ICC dealt with. In fact, the country does not possess its legitimacy and its presence within the United Nations Charter. Therefore, fundamental charter does not differentiate between judicial and executive powers, which has been pointed out in power 16 in provision 16 in refer to non-members state of United Nations Security Council. It has in fact a political executive tool. Its charter is contrary to the principle of states' sovereignty and their dignitaries, which we consider on the principal pillars and international peace and security and stability guarantee. Do we remain in silence?
And the community, a precious opportunity to renew our personal participation in the occasion as custodians of creation, raising to God thanks for the marvelous work that He entrusted to our care, invoking God as our protector. Now, with our common home, or Mother Earth, better assured of protection because of the spiritual moorings laid down by the Papal encyclical Laudato Si, on the positive assumption that heads of state and heads of government and other world leaders who had read the encyclical or had listened to the Pope's speech at the United Nations in New York last September would be moved or conscientized. A just and human society may be born. A society which, under the specifications solemnized in the preamble of the 1987 Constitution of the Philippines, is one with the blessings of independence and democracy and the rule of law, and a regime of truth, justice, peace, freedom, love, equality, and peace. This is the only kind of society and regime which could hasten the attainment of the goal that we have as defined in the theme for this 16th International Conference, namely uniting the world for children through enforceable world law and effective global governance. It may be asked, however, in this regard, what are the relevant requisites, or better yet, conditions sine qua non toward the hastening of the attainment of this task? For the moment, I can cite a few, in addition to education, which was brilliantly discussed by Dr. Gandhi a few minutes ago. And these few are actually considered in the various parallel topics. First and foremost are the needed reforms in the United Nations. When I was the Philippines permanent representative to the United Nations from February 2007 to March of 2010, the Philippines formally introduced amendments to the provisions of the UN Charter, especially on the Security Council. It is the position of the Philippines that there is the necessity of abolishing the veto power, which only the 5 permanent members of the UN, the USA, China, Russia, Great Britain, and France, can exercise. This veto power makes the Security Council the most undemocratic organ of the UN. The veto power which China and Russia have used many times, have actually resulted in rendering futile or in obstructing the better interests of international security and peace. The vetoing power to be exercised by a member state belonging to the permanent members can defeat all noble intentions. It defeats the guarantee in the preamble of the UN Charter of equal rights of nations, whether big or small, whether powerful or not. If the veto power cannot be abolished, then at least the Philippines proposed that it should not be allowed in cases of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against the humanities. The Philippines also proposed that voting for for the membership of the International Court of Justice should only be confined to the General Assembly, because as of today, the Security Council also votes for the members, giving therefore the members of the Security Council 2 votes in one given time. And that would again be a violation of the equal rights guarantee under the Charter of the United Nations. Second condition sine qua non is the strengthening of the effects of the mechanism for state and religious relationship, because we know very well that this relationship between the state and religion had caused a much a problem insofar as peace, stability, and order are concerned. But the histories of various nations of the world teach us that law and religion, or religion and the rule of law, together or separately, can be the most potent instrument in establishing, nurturing, promoting, and safeguarding peace, social stability at its best on the one hand, and in causing chaos, disorder, discord, and instability at its worst on the other hand. The best could yet be achieved when this state and religion, recognizing the predominance and dominance of each other and the respective sphere of influence or any authority, the secular for the state or law, and the spiritual for religion, accept that they have many more virtues and values in common than in what they have or they cannot agree for the full development of the human person and the full following of his worth and dignity as endowed by the Creator, and for the building of a society and a world of justice, peace, freedom, and love, where the common good is always the common goal. This achievement can be a reality in our times and even in the generations yet to come. For obvious reasons, we cannot afford to fail in this regard. A legacy of failure is absolutely unacceptable. The prerequisites to the attainment of this ideal is best achieved by the following. There shall be no state religion, and second, there shall be free exercise of religious beliefs. In the Constitution of the United States of America, under the First Amendment, and in the Constitutions of the Republic of the Philippines, these are known as the Non-Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause. The present 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines is founded on deep spiritual moorings. It is undoubtedly pro-God, pro-country, pro-people, pro-poor, pro-marriage, pro-family, pro-children, and pro-environment. It opens its preamble, a prayer invoking God, assistance and aid in all that the country will do. And as to the separation of church and state, it should be inviolable. And as to the freedom of religion, we have the best provision ever. And it reads, no law shall be made respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The free exercise and enjoyment of religious profession and worship without discrimination or preference shall forever be allowed. No religious test shall be required for the exercise of civil and political rights. The third condition sine qua non in my list would be that various religions or faiths in one country and in the world must also maintain a healthy relationship, working together to enhance values and virtues common to them, and such as peace, justice, truth, humanitarian concerns, and to work together for the common good. In the UN in New York, when I was still the permanent representative, upon the initiative of the Philippines and Pakistan, a resolution was finally approved in the General Council regarding interfaith relations for cooperation and peace and development. There was a tripartite forum for that purpose, and I was the chairman from the very beginning of my term until the end. And finally, the fourth condition sine qua non to hasten the attainment of the task I have mentioned, as embodied in the theme of our conference, would be the rule of law. In this regard, I have adopted the concept of the rule of law as elaborated by John Rawls, a political theorist. To him, these are the related tenets of the rule of law. One, legal entitlement, the normative status where citizens can depend on the objective meaning of standing laws and not upon the grace of political elites. Second, legal justice, that similar laws be treated similarly. And three, legal rationality, that decisions making it must have rational constraints. Simply stated, the rule of law is a state of affairs where the government is one of law and not of men. The Philippine Constitution has erected constitutional guidelines and guideposts for the rule of law to flourish. With General Resolution number 67-70 adopted on 6 December 2007 by the General Assembly of the United Nations, the rule of law at the national and international level reaffirms that human rights, rule of law, and democracy are interlinking and mutually reinforcing, and that they belong to the universal and core value and principles of the United Nations, and balances that rule in the national and international levels in asserting for the realization of sustainable development, economic growth, and the eradication of poverty and hunger, and the protection of human rights and fundamental freedom. I know that the forthcoming 17th International Conference of Chief Justices of the world on Article 51 of the Constitution, which will be organized, I'm sure, by Dr. Gani, will provoke the delegates to more challenging issues and challenges that would affect our way of life. We wish him and his family and the CMS more power from the love and grace of the Lord Almighty. Good luck to you, Dr. Gandhi, and expect a better future and a world of peace. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mr. Justice Xavier H. Fernandez, National Judge and Executive Director, AIEJ, Argentina. From Argentina.
Thank you for the welcome. Que se ho, students. And after that, please forgive me. That's all I can say in Hindi, in your beautiful language. Educators, international leaders. First of all, I would like to thank the authorities of CMS school. All the team of the school have been wonderful welcoming our delegations for the last years. Dr. Jagdish Gandhi and Professor Gita Gandhi Kingdom. I'm happy to be in your city. I'm happy to be in Lucknow. I would like, on behalf of South America, to thank you for the historical and cultural legacy, not only for your country, for all the humanity. The city of Nababs and so many rich and interesting stories such as Begum Hazrat Mahal too. In this opportunity, my organization, some words in Spanish, I'm sorry. Si mis colegas latinoamericanos, sudamericanos, alguno de ellos está presente, si por favor me pueden acompañar por unos minutos en el estrado, se los voy a agradecer. In this opportunity, we have judges from South America, you know, children, East Hemisphere, Asia, India, Europe, Africa, America, North America, Central America, and South America. We are from this extreme, South America, the other part of the world. We are very far from home. In this opportunity, we have representatives from 7 countries of that area of the world. First of all, we have colleagues from Brazil. Brazil, in our world, is well known by soccer, is well known by Carnival. Rio de Janeiro is the city, wonderful city of the Carnival. In this opportunity, the majority of our colleagues are from Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo is the industrial and economic heart of Brazil. We also have representatives from Colombia. Colombia is the land of coffee in our area. You know, children, when tea was not more able to be exported to another areas of the world, coffee replaced tea. This because of political reasons. You had the British here, we had the Spanish in our world dominating our people. We have also representatives from Ecuador. Ecuador is a little but wonderful country in South America. We have wonderful beaches and also a treasure, a little beautiful city, Quito. It is a colonial Spanish city, very beautiful too. People from Ecuador. We have people from Paraguay too. Paraguay is the land of Guaraníes, and Guaraníes is a native community in that area of the world that's very strong. Also, and talking about sports, our favorite sport in that area of the world is soccer. I know that you are more familiar to cricket than soccer, but perhaps you can have some idea of this passion in that extreme of the world. For example, Roque Santa Cruz is a famous Paraguayan player. He used to play in Germany. We also have delegates from Peru. Peru is such a rich country in our area. It's the land of the Inca Imperium, the land of the most delicious food and complex food, like in Lucknow. I know that Lucknow is also famous because of its gastronomy. Peru is a very interesting point in terms of food in that area of the world, because they have such a complex geography, mountains, sea, forest, and the complex is very food and delicious. We have also representatives from Uruguay. Uruguay is the land with Argentina of tango and famous and wonderful soccer players too. Perhaps you can think about Luis Suarez. Do you remember, guys, Luis Suarez, the player that now is playing in Barcelona, Spain. Barcelona is it's said that's the more powerful team in the history of soccer. And finally, we have also representatives from my country. My country is Argentina. Argentina is also the land of tango with Uruguay. Land of Lionel Messi, a famous player. And as Justice Hilario from Philippines was highlighting, Pope Francis is also from my country. The Catholic religion students in America, in South America, and in Central America, also in Europe and in some other parts of the world, is very important for us, for our world, for our mentality. The Pope is a very important ambassador of the idea of peace. And last but not least, and coming back to soccer, this is the T-shirt of my team. My soccer team, is going to play at the end of the year the final game with the most powerful team in the land, that's Barcelona. And soccer for all of us is very important. Also, thank you. Also, this T-shirt has the color of the national team of Peru. The Peruvian team has the same color. Isn't that? Okay. Talking seriously now, on behalf of the judicial leaders of that part of the world, we would like to express our strong commitment with the idea of this conference, and shown of us is our presence here. All the basis of these ideas, all children are equal and have the same rights. Every child has the right to have his or her basic needs fulfilled. Every child has the right to protection from abuse and exploitation. Every child has the right to express his or her opinion on and to be respected, the right to be heard. On behalf of South America, we would like to thank you for this conference and thank you for the welcome reception and welcoming that we are enjoying in your marvelous country, India. Thank you.
Very proudly, the international football tournament, namely Concord, which is scheduled this year between 22nd November to 26th November. So we truly understand your countrymen and their passion for football. Thank you so very much, sir. And now it's time for me to invite Honorable Mr. Justice Daniel Mekobe Sone, Chief Justice, Supreme Court, Cameroon. Children, let's welcome from Argentina.
Thank you for the welcome. Que se ho, students. And after that, please forgive me. That's all I can say in Hindi, in your beautiful language. Educators, international leaders. First of all, I would like to thank the authorities of CMS school. All the team of the school have been wonderful welcoming our delegations for the last years. Dr. Jagdish Gadni and Professor Gita Gandhi Kingdom. I'm happy to be in your city. I'm happy to be in Lucknow. I would like, on behalf of South America, to thank you for the historical and cultural legacy, not only for your country, for all the humanity. The city of Nababs and so many rich and interesting stories, such as Begum Hazrat Mahal too. In this opportunity, my organization, some words in Spanish, I'm sorry. Si mis colegas latinoamericanos, sudamericanos, alguno de ellos está presente, si por favor me pueden acompañar por unos minutos en el estrado, se los voy a agradecer. In this opportunity, we have judges from South America, you know, children, East Hemisphere, Asia, India, Europe, Africa, America, North America, Central America, and South America. We are from this extreme, South America, the other part of the world. We are very far from home. In this opportunity, we have representatives from 7 countries of that area of the world. First of all, we have colleagues from Brazil. Brazil, in our world, is well known by soccer, is well known by Carnival. Rio de Janeiro is the city, wonderful city of the Carnival. In this opportunity, the majority of our colleagues are from Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo is the industrial and economic heart of Brazil. We also have representatives from Colombia. Colombia is the land of coffee in our area. You know, children, when tea was not more able to be exported to another areas of the world, coffee replaced tea. This because of political reasons. You had the British here, we had the Spanish in our world dominating our people. We have also representatives from Ecuador. Ecuador is a little but wonderful country in South America. We have wonderful beaches and also a treasure, a little beautiful city, Quito. It is a colonial Spanish city, very beautiful too. People from Ecuador. We have people from Paraguay too. Paraguay is the land of Guaraníes, and Guaraníes is a native community in that area of the world that's very strong. Also, and talking about sports, our favorite sport in that area of the world is soccer. I know that you are more familiar to cricket than soccer, but perhaps you can have some idea of this passion in that extreme of the world. For example, Roque Santa Cruz is a famous Paraguayan player. He used to play in Germany. We also have delegates from Peru. Peru is such a rich country in our area. It's the land of the Inca Imperium, the land of the most delicious food and complex food, like in Lucknow. I know that Lucknow is also famous because of its gastronomy. Peru is a very interesting point in terms of food in that area of the world, because they have such a complex geography, mountains, sea, forest, and the complex is very food and delicious. We have also representatives from Uruguay. Uruguay is the land with Argentina of tango, and famous and wonderful soccer players too. Perhaps you can think about Luis Suarez. Do you remember, guys, Luis Suarez, the player that now is playing in Barcelona, Spain. Barcelona is it's said that's the more powerful team in the history of soccer. And finally, we have also representatives from my country. My country is Argentina. Argentina is also the land of tango with Uruguay. Land of Lionel Messi, a famous player. And as Justice Hilario from Philippines was highlighting, Pope Francis is also from my country. The Catholic religion students in America, in South America, and in Central America, also in Europe and in some other parts of the world, is very important for us, for our world, for our mentality. The Pope is a very important ambassador of the idea of peace. And last but not least, and coming back to soccer, this is the T-shirt of my team. My soccer team, is going to play at the end of the year the final game with the most powerful team in the land, that's Barcelona. And soccer for all of us is very important. Also, thank you. Also, this T-shirt has the color of the national team of Peru. The Peruvian team has the same color. Isn't that okay? Talking seriously now, on behalf of the judicial leaders of that part of the world, we would like to express our strong commitment with the idea of this conference, and shown of us is our presence here. All the basis of these ideas, all children are equal and have the same rights. Every child has the right to have his or her basic needs fulfilled. Every child has the right to protection from abuse and exploitation. Every child has the right to express his or her opinion on and to be respected, the right to be heard. On behalf of South America, we would like to thank you for this conference and thank you for the welcome reception and welcoming that we are enjoying in your marvelous country, India. Thank you.
Very proudly, the International Football Tournament, namely Concord, which is scheduled this year between 22nd November to 26th November. So we truly understand your countrymen and their passion for football. Thank you so very much, sir. And now it's time for me to invite Honorable Mr. Justice Daniel Mekobe Sone, Chief Justice, Supreme Court, Cameroon. Children, let's welcome
Dr. Jadish Gandhi. Thank you very much for your invitation. It is my first participation at this conference. Students of the CMS, fellow Chief Justices, judges, ladies and gentlemen, dear young students of City Montessori School, allow me to greet, worthy as you are, the organizer of this 15th Conference of the Head of Higher Jurisdiction of the World. Allow me to highlight that the presence of these young pupils in these places glorify the torch which is necessary to pass on to the generation of planets. Allow me now to approach some aspects of the new international political and economic order for an effective world governance. Indeed, the governance is a new conception of the management of the world. It is the inevitable consequence of the globalization. It can be defined as a new mode of piloting or more flexible and ethical regulation based on a partnership open and enlightened between the various actors both at local and global scale. World has become a global village, and the method of approaching the human problems has considerably evolved, as well as the art to manage state, international organization, and contemporary problems. With the outcome of economic circle, the governance was got back by the World Bank in 1989 and then by the political leaders. The governance proposed a new mode of management of the international relation, halfway between a world government and the simple cooperation between nations. It questioned the state monopoly on the world affair. It is not justifiable to wonder about the impact of the international political and economic order on the efficiency of the world governance. Ladies and gentlemen, dear young people, with regard to the current international economic and political order, we can find it constitutes a break in the arching of an efficient world governance. it becomes urgent to envisage a new political and economic international order capable of establishing an effective world governance. The globalization raises new problems, much better that it internationalizes the concern of state and world governance at a level which was in turn more economic than political. At first, reserved domain of the Western countries, the governance is shared onwards by the emerging countries of the South to ensure a healthy and sustainable world growth. Since the Second World War, numerous organizations were established with the aim of a world governance. In spite of this convergence of institutional view side, there are numerous indicators of the weakness of a world governance. We are at the world level numerous organizations to manage the big contemporary problem in the global scale. We shall quote only the most important. 1. The Organization of United Nations, international organization with universal vocation, which took in 1949 the relay of League of Nations, aims at the preservation of the peace and the international security, the pacific regulation of the conflict, the repression of the act of aggression, development between the nations of the friendly relation based on the respect for the principle of the equality of the right of the people, the realization of the international cooperation in all the domains, economic, social, cultural, and humanitarian, and protection of the human right. 2. The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. The World Bank is an institution asked to promote a shared prosperity. The International Monetary Fund is an institution specialized in the United Nations asked to ensure the international monetary cooperation and a financial support member state in difficulties. 3. The World Trade Organization, an institution asked to ensure the international cooperation and to fix the big orientation of the world trade. 4. The International Jurisdiction, the International Court of Justice of The Hague, in charge of judging the conflict between states. The International Criminal Court, asked to judge the crime against humanity and war crimes. 5. The World Health Organization, an institution specialized in United Nations, whose mission is to ensure the international cooperation for the improvement of the health. 6. The International Football Federation Association, FIFA, asked to manage at the world level the problem of the social and to develop the social. 7. The International Olympic Committee, CEO, and National Careers Guidance Center, asked to manage at the global scale Olympic and support the Olympic movement in the world. We see it. The world is dominated by these organizations and associations, which have for vocation to manage the various aspects of the world life. In spite of the existence of this organization, the world governance presents several weaknesses which show themselves by numerous indicators. The current world governance, both on the economic and political plan, abound in many weaknesses. We shall retain only the major indicator of the inefficiency. Firstly, the world faces fragility of the peace and the multiplication of war homes. The Mahatma Gandhi, followed by Martin Luther King, advocated for long political of non-violence and theoretical terms. For those who refuse the violence, remain irresistibly non-violent. War homes exist in Africa, in Afghanistan and Syria. Secondly, the world faces the rise of the religion extremists, jihadist movement, Boko Haram in Africa, and the terrorism in all its forms. Thirdly, the world faces an uncontrolled immigration. Europe undergoes indirectly the direct consequences of the war of Syria. We research the incompressible threshold. Fourthly, the world faces a backward movement of the democracy, a crisis of the banking system, a development of the greenhouse effect to the global warming, the speed of new technology, affaire WikiLeaks, and a violation of human rights. This is thus a real necessity of a new international political and economic order if we hope to have an efficient world governance. Ladies and gentlemen, dear young people, the evolution of the international economic environment is marked by the globalization of the exchanges and by inevitable disparity of the term of its exchanges between the North and the South. In reality, if there is no new political vision and a new economic order, the world governance is condemned in the ineffectiveness. The idea of a new political order is not only an emanation of the countries of the South, but also a concern of the countries of the North. President George Bush used the expression New World Order during a speech pronounced at the Congress of the United States of September 1919. He has accepted that a new world order can be born, a new era, less threatened by the terror, stronger in search for the justice, and safer in the quest of the peace. Some people do that the new world order would be an exceptional fusion between the capitalism and the socialism. In every case, the new political order must be marked by more democracy. It is good that all around the world, states are governed by the leader freely chosen by the people. The existence of dictatorship is an obstacle to the globalization of the concern. More international justice. It is desirable that the international justice is fair and equal in the face of all criminal of the world without discrimination. More religious tolerance. It is desirable that the freedom of religion dedicated by all the big charter of the world comes along with the tolerance, each making the religion of its choice has to accept that of the other. More protection of rights. The degree of protection of human rights is on the international level the barometer of the rule of law. States subject to rule of law. It is the result of long history. Since the revolt against the English colonies, which resulted in independence of the United States of America in 1776, including the Declaration of the Right of Man, of the Citizen, and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on December 1948, the concern is the same. It is necessary to find ways and means to protect the human dignity, the justice, and the peace in the world. Africa joined this adventure by adopting the African Charter of Human Rights and People. The culture of human rights in all the religions of the world is a prerequisite for a credible world governance. More environmental protection. The world governance, moreover, has to get involved in the environment protection. Indicators are in the red with respect to several natural catastrophes. Global warming is getting serious. It is urgent to encourage the use of the renewable energy and especially to develop the green economy. All this depends largely on policies. More equality between states. The Organization of the United Nations advocated the equality between states and people, but the reality is more complex. The big decisions of the world governance are not still taken by taking into account the equality of states. The third world question respectively the world governance. It always shown a will of independence, which is a stabilization of the cost of raw material as well as strengthening of the development aid. It is a flight wish for the UNO to recognize in 1974 the necessity of a new international economic order. Today, the countries of the South represent 52% of the world industry and register the growth stronger than those of the old developed countries. The anti-globalization sphere of influence disputes the world economic system. Between that, the liberal globalization and assess that another world is possible. A new economic order is possible and can lend only to solid foundation. It will be necessary to envisage more equity in the term of the exchange between the North and the South, more transparent management of the world financial institution, more normative frame of information technologies and communication, more rational management of the energies, more members in the green economy, more consideration for the man who has to be in the center of the economy. More legal and judicial security in the life of the affairs, more level-headedness in the management of the world leadership. Today, the USA are leading, followed by China, India, etc. But the dialectic of the history shows that this sequence is not static. Jean-Jacques Rousseau asserted at the appropriate time that the strongest is never that strong to still be master. Ladies and gentlemen, dear young people, what to say as conclusion? The contemporary society comes up against numerous difficulties. Some are the fact of the man and the other the fact of the nature. It is constant that the major problem cannot receive at the global scale the global answer. It is the absence of government of the world beside impracticable. States have to conjugate the effort to establish an efficient world governance to solve the problem of humanity, except the effort of every state. Only effective world governance can constitute the beginning of solution. It is about a flight of all time is all the continent. If our generation mark our past, it will be up to you, my dear young friend, to pursue the community work. This is written in front wall of the University of Madagascar in Africa. Shame to those who do not do better than fathers. Thank you for your kind attention.